Baseball is dead. Rest in peace. Yes, it's the Jayhay solo show. The people spoke. We're doing it. The chef's table, whatever you want to call it. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for the solo show. I'm more excited to bring you the cavalcade of stars that we have coming up on this podcast. I reached out to my personal baseball network, all of whom have been on this podcast in some capacity before, but we're going to have a nice slate of guests. We're going to have Boog Sciambi to talk some Cubs primarily. We're going to have Tim Kurkjian to talk national baseball, Aaron Judge, Paul Skenes, Shohei Ohtani, and we're going to have one of my favorite young local content creators, Carrabis, to talk some Red Sox and other assorted things. It's very, very exciting. We'll wrap it up with a little Cleveland area reminiscing. I'll bring my two brothers on for 3 or 4 minutes to share some memories there. But it's going to be a great pod. Quickly off the top, I did want to hit on 3 stories quickly that I think are worth noting news-wise. Jackson Jobe, Tommy John surgery. Unfortunately, he felt discomfort in his elbow during a start against the Giants back on May 28th, was placed on the 15-day injured list with a right flexor strain. Unfortunately, that has revealed the worst possible, or one of the worst possible outcomes. It's a very disappointing turn of events for a team that has been largely nothing but good vibes. So good that even Javier Baez got in on the good vibes at one point this season. Obviously, from last year into this year, Jobe was one of the highest rated prospects in all of Major League Baseball, pitching or otherwise, and was viewed as kind of like an X factor piece for this team that outside of Skubal was maybe missing, definitive, I guess, outside of Skubal and Flaherty for what he is outside of, or known definitive pitching assets. He had been a little up and down, but still very intriguing. To lose him for the season is disappointing, and a young arm that exciting obviously doesn't derail the Tigers' title hopes or division winning hopes, but a bummer nonetheless. On the positive side, 2 win streaks continued on. The Giants, they had a chance. Here's a little nug for you. They had a chance to become the first team to win 7 consecutive 1-run games entering last night since the 1927 Cubs. They ended up with more cushion than that. They didn't need it, and they moved to a season-high 12 games over 500. They have the lowest bullpen ERA in all of Major League Baseball at 2.42. And they did so. They were able to continue this hot play despite losing both Matt Chapman and Patrick Bailey to injuries over the last couple of days. The interesting thing here, obviously, is that they are riding this season high 12 games over 500 run leading up to. They have to conclude the Dodgers series today, or the Rockies series today, but then they start the Dodgers on Friday. Which is extremely exciting. And the further the season goes, despite the injuries, the more viable it seems like the Giants remaining in this division race is. And that matchup on Friday, which I'm very excited about, is Logan Webb against Yoshinobu Yamamoto, which is, book market stuff. 2 of the top 3 or 4 pitchers in the entire NL. So that's very exciting. And then the Blue Jays, winners of 12 of 14 after sweeping the Cardinals following Wednesday's 5-2 win. The Blue Jays are now 38-30. I was asked on social media by multiple people that are ignoring the Blue Jays start to the season was malpractice. So while we are not going to do a complete discussion, because obviously I'm missing 2 of the people that you would want that discussion for, I do think mentioning the Blue Jays' recent play is worthwhile. So tip of the cap to the person or people who were suggesting that. And I do think, we'll go into the Blue Jays more next week when the guys are here. But I do think it's noteworthy that this run, this 8 games over 500, 12-2 over their last 14, has happened without Vladimir Guerrero Jr. being an MVP caliber bat. Obviously, a lot of other players, important players on the team, have performed better than they did last year, which is a huge part of this. But Vlad being, fairly mediocre by his standards, pre-2024 Vlad, really, and them still being this viable, lends some optimism to the idea that they could stick around. We're going to get to the Boog Sciambi interview here in a moment, where we talk Pete Crow Armstrong and Paul Skenes, who he's going to see on Friday. But before we do that, a few pitching nugs to start us off, since this is the chef's table. This is the solo show. We got to have nugs. Rapid fire here. Pitching. We'll get to hitters later. Bailey Falter. He had a 5.93 ERA through the first 6 starts of the season. That took us through the end of April. He has a 1.61 ERA over his last 8 starts. That's including his 5 1/3 1-run outing of ball last night in a win against the Marlins. All opponents count. Jesus Luzardo, Slab Lab. Be sure to check out his episode. Dropped 2 weeks ago. 10 strikeouts, 0 walks. It's his 4th 10K game already this season. Huge bounce back for Luzardo. Some were suggesting that he was tipping his pitches in the 2 starts where he got knocked around. Regardless, that seems to be resolved. That's the most 10 strikeout games by a Phillies lefty through the first 18 games of a season since Cliff Lee had 6 in 2011. And Luzardo's performance on Wednesday was the first 10K 0 walk performance by Phillies lefty since Lee again on April 21st, 2014. Luzardo threw a season-high 18 sliders, including 4 against left-handed batters, so maybe a slightly adjusted approach there. He had thrown a total of 5 sliders against left-handed batters through his first 13 starts this season combined. Spencer Schwellenbach, first career complete game, and in the first complete game 0 walk performance by a Braves right-handed pitcher since Julio Teheran on June 19th, 2016. It's the first complete game 0 walk performance by a Braves right-handed pitcher against the Brewers, getting ultra specific there, since John Smoltz, Hall of Famer, on August 11th, 2006. And lastly, from the pitcher side right now, at least, David Peterson, first shutout by a Mets pitcher with 0 walks since Jacob deGrom on April 23rd, 2021. Both of those starts came against the Nationals. All right, I'm personally a basketball fan, so Underdog dropping their playoff basketball promo, the extender, increasingly bigger boosts each round's the playoffs. That appeals to me. I'm interested. I watched Game 3 last night. Thunder Pacers caught me off guard. I thought the Thunder would come back and answer. Or answer again. But the Pacers won that one decisively. We've got a very interesting NBA Finals coming up, but I know we're all baseball people here. Make sure you sign up with the code Jared to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits and a special pick on Underdog. I know from personal experience that Jared and Dallas are getting those picks out on a very regular basis, daily, almost daily cadence. There's some winners mixed in there. So the only way to make sure that you hit the winners is to play all of the ones that they submit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Jared. Let's get into our interview with John Sciambi, which takes us into our interview with Tim Kurkjian. All right, we are very honored to be joined by the play-by-play man for the Chicago Cubs for the Marquee Sports Network and founder of Project Main Street, that helps dealing with research funding and care for those dealing with ALS. Good friend of mine, former colleague, John Boog Sciambi. Thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure, brother. Good to see you, Jayhay.
Yeah, likewise. Just wanted to do 5-10 minutes of some Cubs talk. Obviously, you're the man to go to. You've been on the pod before plenty of times. Although this one we gave you heads up for, which rather than a last minute phone call.
Yeah, you guys usually just wake me up, right? That's right.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I wonder how many nights or how many mornings we're waking you up with a text message or a call. All right, let's start with what I think is the number one story out of Chicago, other than the fact that this is an awesome offense. It's specifically Pete Crow Armstrong. The rapid development, ascension offensively, and the treat that you get to watch him play defensively every day. What's your impression?
Just so fun. He's 23 years old. He's fast. Watching him defend in center field, especially from our perch at Wrigley, is amazing. To watch him go back and forth and sort of watch the ball go in the air and then watch the intercept point of the player to the ball. It's amazing. And he's a great kid. his development has been incredible. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Nobody really saw this coming. I mean, look, he's got a lot of confidence, to be clear. Jed Hoyer was on with, I think, Brian Kenny yesterday. He had a great comp, I thought, in terms of the body and talking about unexpected power and the twitchiness. There is, in terms of the body, and you're not expecting the power, there is some Trey Turner comp to it. And I like that. I thought that makes some sense. But, I mean, he does not hit wall scrapers. Let's be clear.
No.
I do think the one thing that's interesting is if you look at the profile, I haven't checked today, but for most of the year, he's led the majors in swing rate. He's in the top 3 in chase rate. If we just stop right there and I say, what do you think about this player offensively? That is not usually going to yield an especially good offensive player. And yet in this case, because he has improved his in-zone contact rate by 10 percentage points or thereabout, he's been a great offensive player. And then, as you mentioned, impacts the game both defensively and on the bases.
Yeah, it's interesting the way you phrase that too, because I've seen a lot of people who are maybe a little bit skeptical of the offensive side of, nobody's skeptical of the defense, right? But of the offensive side of things, where they're like, yeah, look at the chase, look at the on-base percentage, like look at the number of players who have been MVP candidates or whatever with a 315 or on-base percentage or whatever it sits currently. Mm-hmm. And I maybe I'm being, glass half full, but I see that and I say, look at how good he is already with that major flaw, right? And if the in zone stuff is as good as it is currently, and he can improve on the out of zone stuff, then I think that's kind of a recipe for a greater leap as opposed to necessarily a formula for a regression.
Yeah, and he hasn't developed into what he's going. I mean, his first year when he debuted and he was 21 at the end of 23. All anyone would say is, man, he can't hit the carry 4. Like the 4 up in the zone, he just can't hit it. And then the other day, he's taking Carlos Hernandez, throwing him 99, basically, chest high and waffling it into the right field corner. So you don't know what he is. When they traded for him, he played like 6 professional games. Yeah. So he hasn't come anywhere near setting a baseline. Again, I understand. I like guys that are going to walk a little bit because I like the ability to avoid making outs when you're not swinging the bat well.
Yeah, for sure. The 2 other questions that I want to get to. What are your expectations? I don't necessarily need a specific name because I don't think that's fair, but like in terms of intent and approach, what do you think the Cubs approach is going to be as it relates to the starting rotation leading up to the trade deadline?
To me, it's more about what flexibility will ownership give them in terms of spending. I think that's the the bigger thing. You'd love as high end a front end guy as you could possibly get. I think that's their issue. They could use another bullpen arm or 2 because who can't? Right. But I'm not really sure. I mean, Alcantara's interesting. He's been pitching better. Maybe you're getting him at a buy low type situation and then, you get a little lucky. But in terms of really getting into it, I think they would like to put somebody up front. Look, the one thing that I would say, I think this team, I felt it was going to win 86-ish games. I think that's in the neighborhood of internally what they thought. And obviously it's changed. And then in my opinion, the rest of the league has changed. This Cubs team, I personally think they're a playoff team. And the other component is I don't think any of the elite teams are quite that good. So to me, if the Cubs played the Yankees in the World Series, if they played 10 times, the Cubs are winning the World Series 2 or 3 times. I believe that. And that's good enough, man. To be in that space. Same thing with the Dodgers. They played the Dodgers in a 7-game series. Yes, I think the Dodgers, and they're going to get healthy, are better than the Cubs. But the Cubs are not playing the Dodgers 10 times in a 7-game series and winning none. They're winning 2 to 3 times, and that gives you enough. And then if you add a frontline starter, it changes. So, my odds are, I think this team has a shot to do some interesting stuff. I'm not saying that should be the expectation. But it's like in terms of probability, it's not zero.
This isn't directly related to what we were talking about, but somebody asked me a question yesterday about a comparison between the 2016 Cubs offense and the 2025 Cubs offense. And what struck me was, and I'd sort of forgotten stuff about this 2016 team, but just how much more prolific and dynamic of a base running and base stealing team this one is compared to 2016, and which was more or less a station to station. I think they finished off the top of my head like 25th or 26th in stolen bases, and were similar in success rate. Whereas, as you know, this team is, top of field in both categories.
Top 3 in stolen bases, top 3 in stolen base rate. As a base running team, they do stuff like beat out double play balls, and then the next guy comes up and hits a home run. There's a length to this lineup and an athleticism. The other thing that's, sneaky is last 2 years, starting last year, go look at park factor and Wrigley Field. It's not an easy place to hit. And so on the nights where the wind is blowing in, you are going to need to figure out a way to score in those one-run events. And they have a super athletic team. Dansby Swanson's healthy. He hits for power, and he can really run. PCA can run. Nico Horner can run. Kyle Tucker is a really good, efficient base stealer. Even Happ can run. So they have an ability to win and do some stuff, in terms of one-run games. And then on their bench, they have Birdie and Bruhan, who both can fly. So it's a very athletic team. Defensively, they've played in terms of metrics as an above-average defensive team, a very good defensive team. I think at their peak, with the 2 guys up the middle and Dansby and Nico, and then PCA and center, I think at their peak, they're probably one of the 4 best defensive teams in baseball. And those are all good things. I don't know that they're a lead the majors in scoring offense, but it's a lineup that has a lot of length. Be clear, most of the time they're starting 7 guys that will take you bridge if you throw something in a bad spot. So it's a good team. I think that they need like some more higher. They don't strike people out. I don't personally love that, even though their defense is good. The ball's in play a lot. I think the ball's in play, something bad's going to happen eventually. So I think, it's not 1992. So I think that the ball being in play, if you want, if you have a choice, that's not what you're looking for. But this is a good team.
I told you about 10 minutes, so we're bumping up against that. We'll wrap up here.
It's always a little more, yeah.
It's always awkward when, a multiple of my guests show up. So I do have Jared Carrabis waiting in the wings here.
Who?
Yeah, he's this like kind of up and coming like Boston area content creator. I'm familiar
with his work.
Yeah, I try and use this podcast when I take the horns to kind of like shine a light on some up and comers, and that's what we're going to do next. So really excited to talk to
Jared, when you come out of your shell, it's really everything is going to be great for you, buddy.
Yeah, we're working on it.
I'm excited. You know what? I'm a big fan of the show, by the way, Jay. Thank you for having me. I don't want to intrude or anything. Boog, big fan. I was actually the one that brought to everyone's attention on this show the bit that you guys did for MLB The Show, where you were broadcasting behind the scenes, and the guy was like that. Perfect video. Unbelievable.
That was pretty good.
Unbelievable.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
The fact that it took him long enough to realize that it was actually you and not some like robotic AI thing. It was fantastic. Yes.
It was a lot. He was a wonderful sport about it. He loves baseball. The whole thing was really wholesome and fun. I also look, guy's 86 years old, and he was certainly on it enough that when I would say, Pablo's wearing a blue sweater or whatever, he was catching all of it. So that was a lot of fun. Credit to Pablo. I love getting a chance to do stupid stuff like that because I think both of you know I'm sort of a moron.
Same.
Last question. You got Paul Skenes coming to town tomorrow, correct?
Yes, we do.
This will be the 6th time he's faced the Cubs. I don't recall offhand how many of those you've been in the park for, but what are your I know his start earlier this season was arguably his least impressive start of the year overall, but what are your impressions having watched him a handful of times now?
Cubs are on a roll right now, by the way. On this road trip, they faced Gore, Skubal, and Wheeler, and now they get Skenes. I think he's phenomenal. He's in a conversation along with Skubal as the best pitcher. He's a good example, though, of like the way this offense is. If you keep it close and the game, and you give the Cubs a chance, they're always kind of like a bloop and a blast from making the game interesting. So he's really good. Your expectation is that he will shove because that's what he normally does. I think he's phenomenal. And I love watching greatness. So even though I want to see the Cubs succeed, I love getting a chance to watch Paul Skenes or Zach Wheeler or Tarek Skubal. Like, it's fun. So it'll be great on Friday.
Hopefully we get the best possible scenario for baseball, which is Paul Skenes shoves, but the Cubs win in a walk-off on a Friday to send the Cubs fans home happy.
I'm in on that.
We get Go Cubs Go. We get Wrigleyville popping.
Sing the song.
We get the whole deal, and then we get to do all the stats about how Paul Skenes has one win over his last X number of starts while having a 0.99 ERA and all that sort of fun stuff. Because it's really always more fun to point and laugh. Boog Sciambi, Marquee Sports, play-by-play, Chicago Cubs, Project Main Street. I really appreciate you taking the time to join. Means a lot. And
we got a cool auction, by the way, we'll be doing on coming up on Friday. Right. Some Pete Crow Armstrong spikes, all sorts of stuff.
I'll call you shortly. Okay?
All right, Tim, come on, Timmy.
This is crazy.
Timmy,
I can come back.
No, it's Tim. What are you doing? You're parachuting in. It's no, not yet. I'm on. So, let's zip it up. I was just about to tell people about our ALS auction. Pete Crow Armstrong's going to be wearing some cool spikes. I have to go. Jayhay, by the way, big fan. I've really enjoyed the show over the years. So
thank you so much. We're
tell
building
the Jared
something
guy
special
I like
here.
him too. Yeah, I know you are.
Oh, we will. Jake and I will relay it. Thank you so much, Boog.
Tell Kurkjian to clean it up, please.
I will. He comes in talking to his doctor or something. Yeah.
Tim, I have to go. I have to go, Tim. I have to go.
So bad at this. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. This is fantastic. Can't script that. See you, Boog. Great. Well, now we've got two guests at the same time. I'm so excited.
I'm just gonna sit here while you do this. I'm just a fan at this point. Just go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, Tim, I don't know if you know what's happening here, but the original intent behind this was that Jared and Dallas both had commitments today that they could not move, and so I was going to solo host the show, quote unquote. So I tapped into my network of my best baseball friends, you and Boog being two of those, and we're going to come on. And then Jared was able to come on, so I booked him as a guest on his own podcast. So that's the lineup. It's Kurkjian, Sciambi, Carrabis today. It's an absolutely, as Steve Berthium would say, it's the cavalcade of stars.
Right. Well, let me explain what I just did. I came on 10 minutes early because I'm always afraid that I'm going to screw this up somehow with the technology. So I always get on early just to make sure I can see you guys. I did not expect to barge in on Boog's time. Now he's all mad at me. Oh, boy, that's not good.
No, that was awesome. That's like if I had tried to script that, it wouldn't have gone as well. Absolutely fantastic. Jared, go ahead. I mean, you want to say hi? You guys know each other.
Hey, Tim. I don't know if you remember me. Big
Jared,
fan.
I remember you.
Yes. We talked baseball together with Dan Shaughnessy at the EMC bar there that one time, and obviously we've had you on the show a couple of times. Big fan. I'm just gonna sit back as a fan and let Jayhay do his thing. I'm gonna move my spot so that you guys can start now.
Dan was my mentor in the business. He showed me how to be a baseball writer.
That's crazy because he's super negative and you're super positive. So I don't know how much of an influence he truly had on you. You're funny. He's not. I love Dan, but I mean, he's no comedic effect whatsoever.
Well, all right. Well, we're a little different in the way we present things, but he taught me how to be a baseball writer, and I'm forever indebted.
Jokes aside, Tim Kurkjian, a great honor to have you on our podcast. You are obviously an ESPN legend, the ESPN baseball legend. I would consider, a lot of people would consider that. You're also the co-host of Great Game or What podcast with your son, Jeff, which is, I mean, is there a cooler combination than being a ESPN baseball legend, baseball Hall of Famer, Tim Kurkjian, and have a podcast with your son?
Yeah, this has been the highlight of my career, is getting to work with my son. He's 31 years old. He doesn't know that much about baseball, but since I don't know anything other than baseball and basketball, and he's like a magician with technology, he's great with social media. He can play the piano. He can sing. He's really talented. And poor Pop here, he can only do like a couple things in his life. So we are a good combination because he knows all the things that I don't know, which is almost everything. And I fill him in on baseball once in a while.
I forgot I was going to do this. I'm going to switch hats. No, it's not. Don't get, nope. It's not that. It's my Tim Kurkjian Team Tim Hall of Fame cap, putting it on.
I still can't believe that entire busload of ESPN employees came to Cooperstown that weekend. And then you came over just for lunch, and then you got back in the van and drove back. It was like the nicest thing that's ever happened to me, that you guys would take all that time. And then the bus broke down on the way back, right?
It did break down. That is not what I remember. Obviously remember honoring you and all that. I mean, I wasn't going to turn this into some sap fest, but it was the honor of everybody on that bus to come up and be a part of your Hall of Fame moment. And I know we are all honored to work with you, continue or work with you in the past. So that was fantastic. That's the last time I was at Cooperstown. Actually, I should get back sometime this summer. Right. All right, let's do some national baseball topics. Hit a few, and then I'll get you on your way. Aaron Judge's season is where I want to start, though. Obviously, you have a view of baseball history that nobody on this podcast can match. Nobody really commenting on the game currently can match. Can you put Aaron Judge's season into context? Maybe not even statistically, just in terms of your impressions of what you're seeing.
Well, last year, as we know, he had one of the great seasons of all time, maybe the greatest season a right-handed hitter has ever had. And he's even better this year than he was last year. His OPS, last I looked, was like 70 points higher than it was last year when he was absolutely spectacular. Every year, Jayhay, he gets better. And it's partly because he has stopped chasing out of the strike zone, which is really hard to do when you get to be 30 years old, to make that kind of adjustment. That's what he has done. He's going to win his third MVP in the last 4 years, which is pretty hard to do and pretty rare also. And he's got 10 homers now in the first inning. As of the other day, the Astros as a team had 4 homers and 15 runs scored total in the first inning this year, and Aaron Judge had 10 homers by himself in the first inning, which, as we know, big boy comes up, hits a home run. It's like the team takes off after that. Like, here we go. Aaron Judge just hit a homer in the first inning. So I checked the most home runs ever hit in the first inning of any season, and the answer is 18 by Aaron Judge last year and A-Rod in 2001. So he's going to break another record this year, as if he's not going to break enough. He might hit 20 homers in the first inning. That's a pretty good season for a lot of guys. He's probably going to hit 20 homers in the first inning this year. How about that?
I got a question for you. So one of the debates I've participated in and seen online is like where among right-handed hitters he ranks in like baseball history, recent baseball history, in terms of like just at the absolute apex of their powers, their peak. How would you, off the cuff, compare him to what you saw from Albert Pujols, Miguel Cabrera, Frank Thomas, the greatest right-handed hitters of the recent generation?
Well, his last year and this year are better, at least in my mind, than any year that Pujols had or Cabrera had. And Cabrera won the Triple Crown. Those guys are great. Don't get me wrong. Those are two of the greatest right-handed hitters ever. But given the pitching that he is seeing on a daily basis, the way he has torn it up. As of the other day, he had a 396 average and 23 homers through 64 games. No one in Major League history had ever had an average that high with that many homers after 64 games. Not Babe Ruth, not Lou Gehrig, not Stan Musial, not Barry Bonds, nobody. So I think Judge is having seasons that have not been had since Barry Bonds in his prime, which means he's better than any right-handed hitter since then. And now we're going to have to start tapping into, Rogers Hornsby and Jimmy Fox and Hank Greenberg and Willie Mays and Hank Aaron, the greatest right-handed hitters of all time, before Judge is starting to fit into that category now. And if he continues to do this, there's no telling where this is going to end.
We got an update on Shohei Ohtani from a pitching side earlier this week that there's a non-zero chance that he'll be pitching before the All-Star break, but really to the point that he will be pitching again in the near future. Tim, what are your expectations for Ohtani when he steps on the mound, or what he may be able to give them over the remainder of the season and postseason?
Yeah, I think he'll be really good whenever he decides to pitch, because that's who he is. He is a baseball machine. Every movement that he makes is surgical in his approach, whether he's throwing a ball, swinging a bat, running, everything is designed to make him the best he can possibly be. And I can't imagine him going out there and pitching if he's not ready to be really good, because every time he steps on the field, he's ready to be really good. Phil Nevin, when he was the manager of the Angels, told me a story that, Shohei is very prepared for everything. And they had a rain out or something, and they had to figure out, he had to ask Shohei, can you pitch at Patriots, old Patriots Day at Boston at 11 o'clock in the morning? Are you going to be able to do that? And it took Shohei 5 seconds to put it through the calculator in his head. And he goes, yes, I can pitch that day. I'll just go to bed at 7 o'clock the night before, and I'll still get my 12 hours sleep. And in other words, he's mapping it out 7 days in advance, his whole sleep schedule. Phil Nevin tells me, he says, look, I don't know about you, but I can't just go to sleep at 7 o'clock at night. It just doesn't work that way. But Shohei even sleeps better than everyone else because his entire life is organized so much to make him the best player that we've ever seen. And therefore, I think when he goes out there to pitch, he'll be 100% ready and he'll be really good.
All right, last question, because, obviously Mr. Carrabis is waiting to get his turn as well. So, and I told you about 10 minutes, so want to be respectful of your time. The Paul Skenes, that's the other guy I absolutely have to ask somebody like you about, because, again, you have a long view of this. Where does he rank in terms of the pitching, the young pitchers? I won't say pitching prospects, because we're well beyond that point with him at this right now, but the young pitchers that you have seen come up and dominate baseball, Strasburg, Dwight Gooden, whatever the answer is, where does he kind of fit in your mind as to what you've seen in baseball history?
Well, he's certainly one of the best pitchers that I've seen. I was at Strasburg's debut, no walks, 14 strikeouts, first pitcher ever to have no walks, 14 strikeouts in his major league debut. I was with Orel Hershiser on the field that night, and we were both absolutely dazzled by what we saw. I've seen a lot of other pitchers come up, but I'm not sure I've ever seen anybody as good as this guy. I think he was the best pitcher in baseball by the time last season ended, which is unbelievable. And if they ever scored any runs for him, there's no telling what he'd be doing. Since the All-Star break of last year, he has the best ERA in the game and is 9-9 during that time, because the Pirates are such a weak offensive team. But Jayhay, when you look at the size, when you look at the stuff, 100 miles an hour with ridiculous off-speed stuff, and then he goes in the offseason and comes back with a cutter. I was there when he kind of debuted his cutter in spring training, and the hitters were going, look, this isn't even fair. So, and then you add how wildly competitive he is. Jayhay, I do the All-Star game from the dugout every year, the last 10 years or so for radio. So I get a good look at these guys like during a game. And I watched him pace that dugout for at least 10 times. He walked back and forth before his start in the All-Star game, and he was in a trance. It's like he didn't even know that anybody else was around him. I thought about it going, hey, good luck today, Paul. I know I would never do that, but he wouldn't have heard me anyway. And this is what the great pitchers do. They get themselves into a zone where they can't even see anyone around them. The only thing that matters is I'm going to go out there and dominate, which of course he was really good in the first inning. He's really good every time he goes out there. And I think you could make a case. I think he's the best pitcher, young pitcher that I've seen ever come from the minor leagues to the big leagues. I wasn't there for Tom Seaver. I was there for Dwight Gooden, who was amazing. But I think this guy's got a chance to be the best young pitcher I've ever seen.
Tim, I means a lot that you carved out some time for Baseball is Dead with Jared Carrabis, Justin Havens. I miss you. I miss seeing you. I miss talking ball with you. But yeah, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying grandpa time. Any parting thoughts for the listeners?
Yeah, I went to the dentist today with my grandchildren, age 4 and age 2. I don't know about you guys, but I hate going to the dentist. These kids went, and it was the greatest experience ever. I'm in there with my 4-year-old grandson while he's getting his teeth, flossed and polished and everything else, and he loved every second of it. I just wish I loved the dentist as much as my 4-year-old grandson Carson did today.
I think we can apply that logic to lots of different things with how much 4-year-olds love stuff compared to us old washed adults. Tim, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the weekend of baseball, and we'll talk later this season.
All right. Thank you, Justin, Jared, Jake. Thanks for having me. Talk to you guys soon.
Tim, good to see you.
All right.
You're still on, Tim, just so you know.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just can't beat that.
He's the best.
He is the best.
He's the best.
Welcome into Jared Carrabis. Obviously, Red Sox mega fan, host of the Section 10, correct?
Yep. Section 10 podcast. Yep.
Section 10 podcast, which talks about the Boston Red Sox. Very successful podcast. Also got a lot to do with this podcast behind the scenes. So
try to help out where I can.
Yeah, no doubt. So thank you very much for carving out some time.
No doubt.
Anything new since the last time we talked?
I'm getting my dishwasher's broken. And also the air on the first floor and in the girls' bedrooms doesn't work. So I woke this morning to a ring at my doorbell. Because it was like a surprise HVAC visit. And I was like, you didn't let me know that you were coming. That's interesting. Yeah. So no, it's been a good day so far.
Good stuff. Well, we appreciate your patience here on Baseball is Dead, waiting in the wings. Obviously nice to talk to Boog and Tim, but we're very excited to talk to you. Let's start with your wheelhouse here, the Boston Red Sox. Okay. I am genuinely curious. We have talked a lot about Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, and Christian Campbell. At the end of the day, for each of those people individually, what do they need to develop into? If you want to use a current comp, a former player comp, whatever it is, what sort of player do they have to turn into for you to be happy, excited, satisfied with where your expectations stand currently? Does that make sense?
So, yeah. So what's interesting about Christian Campbell is that when he was in AAA, when he made it to AAA last year, we were told / we saw that he was this freak athlete that could play any position. You could show up to Worcester on any given night, and this is a kid that was going to be playing center field, second base, shortstop. There, like he was playing all over the place. Freak athlete. So I thought Coming into this year, he makes the opening day roster. He gets the contract extension. If you just give him one singular position, then he will become elite at that one singular position because he doesn't have to worry about playing, 9 different positions all over the diamond. He has statistically fallen to one of the worst defensive second basemen in Major League Baseball. So when you ask me, like, what is Christian Campbell going to become, like, player comp wise? In my head, like, I still don't see him as a second baseman. I don't know where I see him. Like, I guess to me, it's almost like he would make more sense as an outfielder, but the outfield in Boston is crowded enough as it is. I think that there was a report this morning that the Red Sox are looking to move an outfielder to address their starting pitching issue, and then as well as their first base issue, because the Red Sox don't have a plan, Jayhay. I don't know if you've noticed this, but we went from
about this.
Christian Campbell's going to play first base in Atlanta to he didn't play first base at all and still hasn't played first base since, like hasn't played at all. When they told you that was kind of the plan and he was, working on first base before games, but then he was their second baseman, but then sometimes they'd put him in center field. So what does Christian Campbell project as? I don't know. Defensively, I don't know what his position is going to be. I truly don't. Because now what you have is when Bregman gets healthy, which isn't super far away. Like, I think someone had a picture up on the Green Monster, one of the tours, that he like started running. So he's not far away. And then Trevor Story has started to hit. So you only have so many spots for these guys. As far as Marcelo Meyer, I hate when you bring up a prospect, a top 10, not just in your system, but in Major League Baseball. This dog is going to knock the light over. When you bring up a top 10 prospect in baseball and you play them out of position, you're asking for it. You're playing with fire in that situation. But Alex Cora said last night, you could put him at first base, third base, shortstop. Like, he can play anywhere. He's a freak athlete. And like, I think that was a big time compliment from Cora. And he's right. Like, he's played an awesome third base. He's a shortstop, but he's been great at third base. What do we do with him when Bregman's ready to come back? Because clearly he's a key contributor now. Hit 2 home runs last night. I think he has the potential, both mental makeup wise, player profile wise, to be a Xander Bogaerts type, like a prime Xander Bogaerts type. A dude that can be out there playing 150 games a year at a premier position, solid defensively, maybe not winning any Gold Gloves, but like, you're not going to worry about it over there. Excellent to, above average to excellent offensively, and then has the mental makeup to play in Boston, where last night he hits the 2 home runs, doesn't even crack a smile, gets asked after the game about it. It's first multi-home run game in the big leagues, a couple, 2-3 weeks after getting called up. And he's just, yeah, whatever, we got the win. He was just happy they got the win. That's what you need from a premier player on your team. And then Roman Anthony, the number 1 prospect in baseball, playing right field for now because he's playing out of his natural position of left field, which, I mean, Duran has not looked good in left field this year, which is bizarre to me. You move a 9-win player from center field, you move him over to left, you would think that they would be just as good, if not better defensively. It's not looked good at all. So I kind of would be in a hurry to move Roman Anthony back to his natural position of left. As far as like what I see him being, it's, I think we're going to be more geared towards offense. I think we're hoping for average defense. We're not going to be talking platinum glove, gold glove, none of that. But as a lefty left fielder with average defense, but hopefully a ton of pop and can hit for average, who's that player? Like, we're not shooting high enough with Nick Markakis. Like, we got to shoot higher than that.
That was actually who I was thinking of. It's so funny you said that, because that's like, when you were describing that, that's kind of the player that I had in my head.
Yeah, I think we got to shoot a little bit higher than that. No disrespect to Nick Markakis, very good player, very solid player, but I feel like the ceiling should be higher than that.
So I'm going to intentionally piss off some Red Sox fans by mentioning this person. but I mean it in the best possible way.
Brett Gardner?
No, I was going to say, what if it's like peak JD Drew without like the effort questions?
Oh.
Because like that's a version of Nick Markakis, right? Like that's like peak JD Drew. I'm talking like 2004, like Braves era JD Drew. Like before he came to Boston.
35-ish. What was his career high in
31,
homers? He probably
31 homers, 12 stolen bases, 305, 436, 569, 1.006 OPS. That was an 8-win season in 2004.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd say peak JD Drew, but he was also, to me, a well above average defender.
Yeah. I was thinking, admittedly, more the offensive profile that you were describing. But yeah, that's
on base guy. He's got power. Can hit for average. Gets on base a ton. Yeah. Peak JD Drew would be more than satisfactory if that's what Roman Anthony became. But I think, Roman Anthony, if you're hitting 500 foot, can we swear on the show?
Oh yeah, absolutely, sir.
If we can hit 500 fucking foot grand slams, like that's, to me, now I'm thinking 40. If you have that kind of pop, like why stop at 31? Like, are we talking 40 home runs at the peak of Roman Anthony? I don't know.
That would be pretty exciting. You may run into my final guests, which are a few relatives I'm having on to talk some Cleveland area baseball and sports. So that'll be fun for you too. You'll get to see every single guest that we had on.
That would be awesome.
I do have another question for you though. And
Sure.
I'm going to take it in the exact opposite direction of present day Red Sox. And I want to ask you, putting Barry Bonds aside, okay? And we're not doing present players. So past players, if you could take one player that you got to watch growing up and put that player in their prime on the Red Sox, the version of the Red Sox that existed at the time of that player, who are you choosing and why do you choose that player?
Ooh.
I didn't prep Jared with any of these, so that I think it's fair that you take prepped. A second. Yeah, I
don't like being prepped.
I just wanted to tell the listeners that.
I feel like, oh wow, this is big time. I feel like the answer should be Pedro. Like I feel like you have to go pitching here. My first thought was,
so you're going to take him from. So you're going to take him on Montreal and put him on Boston ahead of time. Is that what you're saying?
Can I do that?
I'm saying you can take anybody who was on another team, in their prime, and put them on the Red Sox. So like, other than Barry Bonds, like you could take Ken Griffey Jr. when he was with the Mariners, and he's now on the Red Sox in 1997, 1998.
Oh! I thought you meant like take them from their prime and place them on the Red Sox today.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm saying that's also an interesting question, though. So that Pedro's an interesting answer to that.
Yeah,
I agree. I think you have to go
pitching badly. Yeah.
No, I was thinking like, you take an older player and you put him on in his prime. So like,
okay. All right. Yeah. So then I think what I would do is take Tony Gwynn and put him on the Red Sox for that time period. No disrespect to Trot Nixon, but like Tony Gwynn at Fenway Park, I feel like that would be, I can't even imagine what those numbers would look like. They would have to be better, right? Like I would imagine they would have to be better. Imagine like doing like the overlay and he's actually worse.
So you're talking like mid 90s, late 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah. So from 1994 until 1997, Tony Gwynn hit an average of 371.
Yeah.
And he's just peppering the wall.
Yeah.
That is a really good answer, because I honestly thought you were going to go with like Ken Griffey Jr., or I know you're very partial to Cal Ripken, but from an aesthetic standpoint, like Tony Gwynn, putting him in the middle of that and as a complement to the other types of offensive players that they had at that time, I think that's a fantastic answer.
Yeah. Just thinking about like the ballpark, and, I think today's generation, the knock on Tony Gwynn is like, where's the pop? And it's like, well, how many of those, like if he's going the other way, how many of those are now doubles because they were flyouts anywhere else?
Jared, we're very lucky to be joined by our final guests of the day for a quick little Cleveland area reminiscing. This is Brandon and Dylan Havens, brothers of me.
Yes, of course. I mean, it's hard to be humble, as they say.
That's the name of the segment. Hard to be humble.
Okay, I love that. Well, I mean, I really appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to when this comes out, going back and watching from the beginning of the show to the very end of the show. But it's been an honor to be part of the program today. Thank you.
And you
so
haven't
much.
even gotten to hear all the Nuggs too. There's a whole sack of Nuggs that are going to be sprinkled throughout the episode too. So
I can't wait for that.
I really appreciate you taking the time to join. And
Anytime.
I hope we run into each other again.
Yes. Let's make a concerted effort to make that happen. Let's not leave it to fate.
Yeah, like let's do a podcast or two together. Like maybe hook up on a stream.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe you can come to my house to stream. Do you have a setup? Or should you just come to my house and maybe we just plop in front of the TV?
I can come to your house. Yeah.
All right.
We'll make it work.
We're probably about like equal setups. So let's just do it that way.
Yeah.
All right.
To the Havens family, hello. Good luck. And I'm looking forward to seeing your appearance on this show.
Thank you, Jared.
It's good to see you guys.
All right. Welcome into Brandon and Dylan. Quick little Cleveland area reminiscing. Where do you guys want to start? Because I want to just say that I remember the time that we went to a family reunion in Sandusky, Ohio, which for those not familiar with Ohio is like 40 minutes outside of Cleveland. And the place was such a dump and so overrun that they had to wash the glasses that we were using at dinner and then re-serve them to us because they didn't have enough glassware to handle one party of 12 people and nobody else in the restaurant. What are your guys' favorite Cleveland area memories? B, we'll start with you.
I love the memory of the Sandusky one because I do remember that night and we drank all of their margaritas.
Yeah.
They had no more margaritas to give in addition to glassware. All gone. I think my number one memory, besides like just overarching going to games at Jacobs Fields with all of you guys and our grandparents, would be our grandmother's park in Cleveland. So Virginia Havens Park, right near the art museum in Cleveland. I think that's such a cool memory that not only was she alive to see the park created in her name, but that she deserved it and that we get to visit it whenever we want. And that people in our family and outside of our family will go to Cleveland, take a picture in front of the park, send it to us, and then we get to say things like, wow, that's so cool.
I would thoroughly encourage any listener in the Cleveland area who is bored or wants a retweet, because I will retweet that faster than I've ever retweeted anything in my life. Go to Virginia Havens Park near University Circle in Cleveland. It's near Judson Manor, right across the street. Beautiful little park. It's a wonderful spot if you spend time in that area as a Guards fan or otherwise. Dill, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go a different direction. Brandon was showing support to the grandparents. Mine is probably the 2016 World Series.
Hell yeah.
I live in the Chicago area now. All my friends are Cubs fans. We were looking at tickets at Wrigley versus Progressive, and it was about double the price at Wrigley. So we drove the 7 hours up. We drank a ton of beers in the parking lot. We watched the game. Pretty sure Arrieta almost no-hit us.
It was a tough
Grandma. Yeah, we asked Grandma and Pops if we could sleep there. They actually said no, and then we drove back to Chicago for another 7 hours, and then just went right into work. So it was awesome. It was like right after college. It was like 1/3 of my entire bank account went to buying the tickets. So pretty memorable. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty rich area for memories for our entire family. I think back about the time that Grandma and Pops got to go to the game and meet Terry Francona and speak with him for a few minutes too, which was super cool for them. And as I've said before, extremely cool of Terry to take the time to do that. I know lasting memories are normally associated with children, but to create a lasting memory for a lifelong Cleveland fan is awesome too. And I know Pops and Grandma would be extremely proud of Carlos Santana for passing the Baines meter recently as one of their all-time favorite Cleveland players. Any lingering final thoughts from either? I know you guys both have jobs that you have to get to, and Jake and I have to wrap up this podcast. But any final thoughts from you guys on the Cleveland Guardians this year, watching Cleveland over the years, or anything related to that?
I'll just wrap up and say I am on phone calls for a living all day, every day, and I've never been more excited or nervous to make my debut on this pod. So no final thoughts, just really excited to be a part of it, and just want to call out how good Jared has become at the ad reads over the years, something that I personally track, and I really appreciate that he's gotten so good at it. So thank you for having me on. You would appreciate that, and he has gotten so much better. If those old 2017, 18 ones are still around, people should pull that up and go listen to them. It's a real gem. B, what do you got?
I would say that I look forward to listening to this podcast, kind of similar to what Jared said. It's going to be cool to listen to your first solo pod and see what you can bring to the table. Listeners might not know this, but you've been podding solo for a smaller audience, for fantasy leagues and the like, for a long time, decades.
Oh, long time. Yep.
Since learning how to do a podcast was something that like only professional producers know how to do. I think that listening to that and seeing how you've matured has been very cool, to the degree that when you put the question out to the public, should Justin have a solo pod, it was a resounding yes. So as people who will hopefully benefit from that podcast by being on to share more memories in the future, congratulations. I look forward to listening to the pod, and keep doing what you guys do. Jake, you too, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate both of you guys. Yeah, thanks for it was the way the poll was set up, we're able to track the 15% who voted against my solo pod. So, yep, we've got all those names, all the haters. I know you guys got to go. Thank you for taking the time to wrap up the podcast with a little family reminiscing, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
All right, love you guys.
Take care, boys.
Bye.
Thanks, Jay.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Men today face immense pressure to perform, to provide, and keep it all together. So it's no wonder that 6 million men in the U.S. suffer from depression every year, and it's often undiagnosed. It's okay to struggle. Real strength comes from opening up about what you're carrying and doing something about it so that you can be at your best for yourself and everyone in your life. I know from personal experience that I did therapy at one point, and I was definitely one of those people who thought I was too good for it, or didn't need it, or didn't need to talk things out. And I can say this is as candid as I will ever be on this podcast. The simple act of talking it out with somebody else who wasn't knee deep in whatever the topic was immensely helpful, and so helpful that it continues to pay benefits 6+ years down the line in terms of how I approach things. So I cannot recommend this enough if it's something you think is right for you. With over 35,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally, and it works. With an App Store rating of 4.9 out of 5, that is very high, on over 1.7 million client reviews. It's convenient too. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time, not locked into a situation or someone that you aren't vibing with. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners, Baseball is Dead, get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/baseball. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/baseball. All right, and that wraps up the Cavalcade of Stars. Thank you very much to Boog Sciambi. Be sure to tune into the Cubs games if you have the MLB TV app and the Cubs are playing. Just select the Cubs side, and you can get Boog Sciambi on the Marquee Sports Network doing his thing for the Chicago Cubs. And if you're inclined, please check out Project Main Street to support ALS research and direct support for those in need. Very important project. It was great having Boog on. Thank you to Tim Kurkjian, obviously Hall of Famer, ESPN legend, and co-host of the Great Gamer What podcast with Jeff Kurkjian. Not a coincidence. That's his son. Always, I knew as soon as Tim showed up that he was in the right frame of mind. Always just an absolute hysterical appearance from Tim. Thank you to Jared Carrabis for talking a little bit of Red Sox. Really excited about the trajectory that he's on and excited to work and talk with him again. Hope to podcast with him again in the very near future, maybe as soon as Monday. We'll see how that plays out. And then thanks to my brothers for popping on. Very special for me to be able to get them to pop on and talk a little Guardians baseball, Cleveland baseball, which has obviously been a Cleveland as a location, and Jacobs Field has been a bonding point, a touchstone for that side of the family for the entire time that we have been sports fans. So very cool to be able to get them on the pod to talk a little ball. Jake, I'm going to get to some final nugs here, and then we'll do final thoughts.
Love it. Take it away.
All right, let's do it. Juan Soto, he's now up to, the Baines meter guy of the week, 390, 545, 829. That's a 1375 OPS with 5 homers and 10 RBI over his last 12 games. That's raised his OPS from 745 to 854 over that 12-game run. He's now up to 11th in the National League in weighted runs created plus at 142. So it turns out he doesn't suck. Pete Alonso tied for the most RBI by a Mets player over a 10-game span during a single season. Last night, he matched Mike Piazza in both 99 and 2000, Yoenis Cespedes in 2016, and Francisco Lindor in 2022. Kyle Schwarber, 5 stolen. Everybody focuses on the homers in June. He has 5 stolen bases in 68 games this season. He had 5 stolen bases in 310 games across the 23 and 24 seasons combined. Sticking with the Phillies, Trey Turner continued his hot play, or not even really hot. He's just playing well at this point. 335 batting average, 897 OPS over his last 41 games, and a 959 OPS over his last 22 games. Since returning from the IL, Ronald Acuna Jr. ranks tied for 5th in Major League Baseball in FWAR with 1.3 and 9th in OPS at 1.083. He does have 0 stolen bases, though, which I thought was both interesting and not particularly surprising as he comes back from his injury. We have gone, I believe, the entire podcast without mentioning the A's so far. I am going to break that streak out of editorial integrity because Brent Rooker was the first A's player with 2 homers and a double in a game since Sean Murphy in 2022, and the first to do so against the Angels since David DeJesus in 2011. Jackson Holliday has now equaled his games played total from last season. He's at exactly 60, the number he played last year, through 60 games. His batting average is 81 points higher than it was last year. His on-base percentage is nearly 70 points higher, and his slugging percentage is more than 120 points higher than it was. That all adds up to an OPS that is nearly 200 points higher than it was through 60 games last year. 565 last year, 759 last year. So the progress might not have come, or the impact might not have come as quickly as we wanted, but the progress is happening, and it does appear significant. Marcelo Meyer, the second youngest third baseman in Red Sox history with a 2-homer game behind only 3 instances by Rafael Devers across 2017 and 2018. Byron Buxton has now basically played a full season across 24-25, 153 games and 609 plate appearances. His line is 279, 337, 522. That's an 858 OPS with 29 homers, 17 stolen bases, and 5.8 BWAR. He is the first Twins player with 11 or more homers and 11 or more stolen bases through 51 games since Brian Dozier in 2014. And we will wrap up with a guards note. Jose Ramirez reached 20 stolen bases last year. It's his 6th season with 15 or more homers and 20 or more stolen bases. Obviously, he will end up with many more homers than that, presumably, but it's tied for the second most in history, 15, 20 seasons in history by a switch hitter, behind only Carlos Beltran, who had 7 such seasons from 99 to 2008. Jimmy Rollins and Devon White both also had 6 with Jose Ramirez. It was already the most such seasons in Cleveland franchise history. Grady Sizemore and Joe Carter each had 4. That is the fat sack of nugs for today on the solo show, quote unquote. Jake, any final thoughts here?
No, I think it just was a 10 out of 10 variety hour. Thank you again to all our special guests who showed up. It's a pleasure to be a part of it. Thank you for giving the opportunity to let me produce it.
Oh.
I'm just a little worried if this goes out and does 1 million downloads, we might not have a spot for Jared in Dallas, but that's a conversation we can have over the weekend.
Yeah, it's great because if it does those numbers, then obviously I have all the leverage. And if it doesn't do that, then I can, talk forever about the conspiracy that they shuttled my numbers, right? That they, we kept it artificially low to keep egos where they need to be. But either way, no, man, there's nobody else I would have chosen to produce this. It's my honor that you were willing to take this risk professionally. Excited to not do this again for a little while. Excited to get the guys back on Monday. Thank you to everybody who listened. And yes, we will be back on Monday. Be sure to watch Paul Skenes tomorrow. Day game Wrigley. It gets no better than that in baseball. We gone.